So welcome everyone to session 5 of the Integrated Learning at Home. And today we are going to explore a new kind of intelligence. So far, welcome to the new members of the community. Welcome, welcome. I can see some familiar faces and some new faces. So just to bring you up to speed what we're doing. So far, we covered from session 1, we introduced the whole concept of integrated learning. And then session 2 was all about activation. How do you activate the kids around you with the stuff that happens daily? Then we moved into the visual intelligence. So we're exploring the 8 multiple intelligence of Howard Gardner based on that research. So we did the visual intelligence, which was quite an interesting one. The last time we talked about designing experiences. So how can you get small experiences around your house to make it alive for the child? And then now, today, it's all about the body. When we talk about the body, it's actually very obvious, right? Body is something that we use on a daily basis. So we wonder what's intelligence about it. There's nothing very intelligent in that, it's so to speak. But so what we're going to talk about is not about what it is, but why it's so underrated. And why we actually don't use it, something that we have as a faculty that's there on a daily basis, that's just ours. How come we don't use it the way it can be? And how much we kind of bring it down for us as adults and for our children, which is who we are here for. So just a small thing to start using our fingers and face. I'd love for everyone to just come on the video and just greet everyone. So imagine we are all part of some prehistoric generation 3,000 years ago. We don't have any language. We don't have the usual gestures are not allowed, like the namastes and the handshakes and the ahoy. None of that is going to be used. So imagine you're like 3,500 years ago. How would you greet everyone is the question. So should we just kind of go creative and just greet? So everybody on mute, how are you going to greet? Just be creative. So what is happening when you did not use your voice and I told you no using your usual hellos? Was there a hesitation? I sensed something.
Yeah, very much hesitation.
Like, what? I can't use the usual hi or these kind of things. And we default to that, right? Because we don't know the moment I put a constraint, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this. Right?
Yeah,
So that's where we're going to start. So we're going to start exploring and removing all of these inhibitions that we develop as we grow. And so be ready, fasten your seatbelts to have a nice ride with the body. So explore some movement and things like that, because after all, we can't talk about the body. We need to use our body. So enjoy the ride. That's what I'm going to tell you. So just to kind of bring in a bit of concept about the intelligence, in the perspective of the body intelligence, what do you think is intelligence?
I think knowing your limits with your body, like, can I do this move? Can I not? Like, can I jump on this? Like, is the space enough for me to jump from one side to the other? Like certain moves, can I do this? Can I stretch myself?
Yeah. Can I stretch? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Am I flexible? All of that comes in. Yeah.
Caring for the body, caring for the body. How do I take care of it?
Yes.
Because otherwise I can't use it at all if I can't take care of it.
Yes, absolutely. So there's an intelligence around self-care. All right. What else do you think? when you hear of body intelligence and then we talk about this?
Yeah, I was about to say the same, like Rupal, listening to the body, like as if the body is talking to us.
Yes. So listening. So there's self-care, there's knowing the body, how much it can move physically. Anything else?
How my
What the-
body reacts in a certain context or a situation.
Tell me more.
Can I use my body to pull something out, help someone, knowing when to use my body for a situation,
For a situation. Okay.
or run away if there's a fire.
Yes, and that's pretty much what our body was used to doing. Say again, let's go for the human evolution, right? Historically, we used to use our hands and our body a lot. So in history, you see sculptures, you see carpenters. There's a lot of use of the strength and the fingers and the body and all of that. Over the years, with the evolution, actually our use of the body has come down drastically, because we now only use our fingers for this, right? It's all about this. And then we have thumb aches and what's that, carpal syndrome. We developed that because we no longer use it for what it's capable of. And it's capable of a lot of stuff, right? So that's human evolution, for which we are kind of, so now we kind of need to relearn what our body is capable of. And that's when the exercise and the expansion and the flexibility, all of that comes in. So I'm going to kind of bring in a new word, not new, but just for the concept of what we're talking about. So I'm going to bring in finesse as a new word for today. And according to the dictionary, it's about handling or dealing with something in a skillful way. So for example, in the concept of the body intelligence, you look at a dancer and the dancer dances. So you're like, oh, wow, she's using her body very well. You see a person who's exercising, and again, you see the use of the body. And when we start exploring each of these intelligences, it is about bringing that finesse for ourselves. So it's to push ourselves in the visual sort of way, the body sort of way, and the rest of the intelligences that are going to come up. Because when we push ourselves and bring that finesse, it brings in joy. Suppose you were trying to lift some weight, or you wanted to walk a marathon, and you could not even walk 1 kilometer. And at the end of trying for 2 months, you could actually walk a 5 or 10 kilometers. Is there a sense of joy?
Of course.
There is, right? Because initially your body could not do something, and then you could. So I'm getting your body to do something, and that's bringing in joy. So this finesse is not for impressing anyone else. It's about bringing a sense of joy for ourselves. And through that, we also transfer it for the children, because by default, like I always say, our children have it. We just kind of keep dumbing it down for them. So we don't want to pursue, we don't want to force them to pursue perfection, but to kind of push here and push there, and in their case, preserve what they have, especially in the younger kids, just preserve the finesse that we already have. And we kind of say, stop it. We put a cap. So we trying to get to that point while we raise our awareness. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the invitation is for us to be that child and experience that joy first. So today it's going to be 4 parts of the body intelligence. So inside, outside, coordination, and expression. And body intelligence can be divided in many, many ways. And this is just one way of doing it, just for our conversation for today. And one thing that I'd like to bring in is, usually we kind of treat our body and mind very separately. So here we're going to bring it all under body intelligence. All right. So it's not going to be, I've lost my mind. No, my mind and body are together. Because when we address our body, we also address our mind, and vice versa. All right. So but today we will put that in one bracket. So let's go into the inside. Rupal, would you like to take us through some interesting activities that you have for us?
Yeah, okay. So let's let's all just do it right now and just observe ourselves and not really talk over it. And we will, after finishing the activities, maybe we could discuss it. Yeah. So first activity, I can say, can all of you feel your breath? Just feel your breath, not touching your hands or anything near the nostril, just feel your breath. And can you observe, can you just by feeling your breath, find out whether you're breathing in from your left nostril or your right nostril? Take a moment. I hope some of you could be aware about it.
Can we test whether our guess is right, Rupal?
Yeah, maybe test it. Now probably you can put your finger there and then check. I hope some of you felt it was the right one. I was right. Okay, just an observation for now. Next, maybe you can try to breathe in. We are still with our breath right now. And do you hear a sound of your breath when you breathe in and breathe out? Try to think of any sound that you can hear, any syllables that you can hear. Maybe you could come up with some syllables. I don't know. Some might be thinking hum and some others some are thinking no. I don't know what kind of syllables are coming to your mind.
I'm very curious. What are the kind of syllables coming? For me, it was
Yeah, exactly. I would like to know from some.
Yeah, for me, it was like an h.
Yeah,
I had to write it down.
Like hum, like that when I'm exhaling, and then when I'm probably, I don't know. It was more of mix of H and M, probably. I don't know.
H and M. Okay. Anybody else? If you put an alphabet or some syllables to it, what would it be? I guess we never thought of it this way.
Yeah. Now, for another activity, we probably need a little paper or anything if you have around you. Just a little small piece of paper just for the activity. And what we're going to do is we are going to exhale out from our nose and see if the paper moves. Or maybe a tissue is the most easiest thing, whatever feels okay for you. Paper or a tissue or a strip or something. And maybe now try to blow out through your mouth. So keeping your mouth open. Right? Maybe there is a little more force in the mouth, blowing out from the mouth, and probably a little less force. That's what I feel. If anybody feels anything different, you can share.
Yeah, from the mouth, it's definitely
more.
Yeah,
Maybe one more
definitely more.
exercise we could do is that maybe we can open our mouth little small, like big mouth, and maybe a stretched mouth, and see if there is any difference in the temperature of the breath that is coming out. I felt some difference. Slight, very, very slight difference when I do it the second or the third time.
I'd love to hear if anybody else felt.
Even a whistling thing. I felt cooler when I was doing the whistling sound, whistling way, you know. So, when we're just doing all these different activities that we just did right now, all we are trying to say here is, are we able to observe inside our body? That's the whole idea about this activity. Do we ever think we can always see our hands, we can see our, our eyes, our external body, but we do not ever focus on the internal body. So breath is, of course, the biggest tool that keeps us alive, obviously, but also a very great tool to help us to, observe our inner body. All of these mindfulness and meditation and breathing techniques are all trying to take you in. The breathing is the best way. So I thought Bindu and I were thinking about these activities to be put through here.
Right, and this is coming from a yoga. Yes, and this is coming from a yoga instructor. So I thought she was the best one capable of bringing this in. So what she's actually bringing in, and when we were talking earlier, was the fact that there is a lot of awareness that comes in this whole inside concept, because we can see our body, but we cannot really see our insides, right? We can feel full, but we cannot see our stomach full. Right. So in the context of our child, when they say I'm full, it's about really bringing their attention to what is that feeling of fullness, because it cannot be measured. Like, you can't have, this is your stomach and this is how it looks like a glass. Right. So for them, it's like, do you listen to your tummy or you listen to mommy? And usually we get them to listen to mommy and not their tummy. So where then it layers down is the fact that the more they're aware of their stomach and their own physical, and hunger is just one example that happens on a daily basis in different forms, right? So it's about us getting them to kind of begin to feel what's there inside. What's the feeling of fullness? They bring that in, because then it's not about, oh, you did not eat 2 sandwiches. It's not about that. It's about maybe at that time, that's what makes them feel full. Do they know what it feels? And that's bringing in awareness, because we can externally measure it saying it's 2 sandwiches or 3 cups of whatever. But it's about them feeling it. And there are days that 1 sandwich could make them feel full, and sometimes they would need 4. And both are okay. And sometimes for our own convenience, we're like, oh no, if they eat only 1, in another 45 minutes, I'll be going back to the kitchen because they'll be hungry again. And a lot of times we kind of get them to have that extra one, saying that, no, I know you're not full. And when we do that, it's actually lowering their awareness of the body that they already have. And then as they grow, we deal with other issues. We're like, no, please don't eat so much. Please lose weight. We have a reverse problem when we grow up or when they grow up. So it is really about understanding the inner part of the body. And similarly for flexibility, we can only feel flexible, right? You cannot see it. You might be, that today I could do this part of a particular posture. And now to maybe a month later, if I practice regularly, I can do a little more. But I cannot see my muscle really being flexible like a rubber band. Same with stamina. So all of this is when you do something, oh, today I could climb 10 stairs, but if I do this every day for 30 days, I'm able to climb 30 stairs. And this is a feeling. Nobody can measure this for you in the sense that you have measuring devices now all over the place. But the point is, we bring in self-awareness here for ourselves and the child, and get them to trust their inner self, because our body has the innate wisdom anyways, and this is known across the board, and children have the innate wisdom. So for us is just to preserve the wisdom and not tell them, I know better that your stomach is full, or I know you can climb more, or I know this better than you. So it's about really listening, trusting, and we can push, but get them to make sure that they trust their inner self.
I wanted to just say one point, especially when they are sick, I think we put a lot of pressure on them. The sickness, they're already a little cranky. We also get a little, that's the time when we actually think that we know better and what we should do for their sickness. Rather, they might not be feeling like taking a medicine or whatever. I think a sickness is a very key point for what they are feeling, and a very triggering point for feeling at that moment, basically. That's where we generally can go wrong very easily.
And very pushy because we think we know best.
Yeah.
Any thoughts here? Initial thoughts? Because a lot of this in body intelligence will start overlapping, but this is really to break it down and bring in to the fact that we need them to focus and trust what is inside of them. Any initial thoughts?
I think the same with when they get hurt. Like sometimes we would say, oh, it wasn't a big deal, so you shouldn't be crying. Nothing happened. You're fine. Just go ahead and go play. Things like that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So it's about, we think it's not too much, but then for them at that point, it might be painful, but then just to stop and accept and acknowledge it for a bit. And when you're bringing the point of hurt, Maisa, it's also about, for example, there are small cuts and bruises that they get. Using that opportunity to actually reconfirm for them that their body has the capability to heal. Because sometimes they just run, say, oh, I want a Band-Aid, or I want this, or I want that, or take me here, take me there. But there's also a place that's an opportunity where we can tell them, just look at this. It's in another 3 days. Just let's observe it for the next 7 days, how it's going to heal. It'll for the younger children, it seems like magic, but this is like the magic of our body, right? It is able to heal. And getting them to trust that my body can heal from inside is a very empowering thought that can layer in through their lives. And that capability lies with us as parents to bring that in different smaller opportunities that we find around us. So the next part is outside. So this is a very obvious thing, right? The obvious part of our body. What do we have for this, Rupal? Anything? You're on mute, Rupal. We are losing all your words.
Okay, again, some more of yoga. Maybe I can ask everybody to just stand up. Let's work on the balancing a bit of our body, and let's see if we can do a little bit of balancing. So first one is just clasp your fingers together, take them above you as if someone is pulling you up, and come up on your toes and try to balance here. What makes you balance here? Maybe focusing on one point makes you balance here. Being aware about your body makes you balance here. Being connected, keeping your mind focused makes you balance here. Obviously, having thoughts at this point is not going to make you balance. So body has the capability to balance if you focus on it. And probably, I guess, the way we stand, externally using our body is all about this. How can we balance just by staying in a particular way? How do we balance our body? Maybe another thing we could try is like a tree pose, where hold on to one of your feet, either put it on your groin, or maybe put it on the knee, or maybe even on the floor, but just on the toes. And then try to take your hands up in a namaste position and stay here if you can balance on one leg. If you're able to balance, try to close your eyes and see if you're still able to balance. Probably losing it a little bit. So this was just some simple exercises that just an activity for us to know our body externally, how well we are made. Just some balance.
Yeah. And the thought is that unless we actually bring the body and mind together, even though my body might have the capability to balance, there are some days where my mind is so cluttered, like right now, I could not balance. I was like, oh, I was constantly like trying my best. And there are days where if there's a focus, I am able to do it as well.
Yeah, very much.
Any other thoughts on this activity? Who felt a little like wobbly?
Closing your eyes and trying to balance was like night and day.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Any others? So the outs. Yeah, go ahead. Who's it?
Yeah, I think the same thing Mr. Ravi Kumar told, when you close your eyes, you lose your balance.
Yeah.
So balance, posture, they're all a very conscious thing and they're all an external part of the body, right? And there's a lot of doing here. So here I need to really, there are no involuntary activities happening. Like the inside, in the previous way, I don't need to tell my body to digest the food. It's going to keep doing it, whether I instruct it or not. But in this case, I need to kind of really voluntarily, consciously bring the awareness. So there is that voluntary part. I can choose not to balance for today and keep wobbling all through. Or I can say that, no, this time I really want to balance for 1 minute. And then I will see that shift based on my mind focus at that point of time. So we use our body for many things. And if you see children, they are like fully kinesthetic in a lot of ways. They climb trees, they move, they jump, they do a whole lot of things that are very visible to us. And in a way, when we use our body, we get rewarded, right? We get rewarded, we feel joy when we climb the tree that we think we were not able to do. They get joy when they keep jumping the skipping rope. They get joy. And sometimes there are kids who we see keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you wonder, what's going on? Why is this child going over and over in like a loop? But it is something that they have innately they're getting joy. And that's the reason they have this loop going on, which we don't understand. So there is a discomfort at our end, because as adults, we've become used to being caged on a chair. So we cage in a chair, we stick to one seat, we cage our body, and we kind of begin to feel very uncomfortable when we see so much movement. Like when a child is not able to focus in front of or sit on a desk or sit in front of if they're in the online classes, we find there's something wrong with the child. Immediately we're like, no, sit quietly, sit straight, stay focused, because we kind of begin to want to cage the child. But what I'd like you to just bring in that perspective, that it's nothing wrong. Our human body is not meant to be caged onto a chair. So let's not label it wrong. Like, why can't you sit on the chair? I mean, we do this, we out of maybe frustration or a well-meaning, whatever, but just to kind of bring the fact that our body is not meant to be caged. You cage the body, you cage the mind, and we don't want to do that. Right? The key of the body is in the mind, the key of the mind is in the body. So let's not cage any of these things just because we are uncomfortable. And children may be active in many, many ways. And their activity levels are far higher than what we are. Like, we constantly say, like, we can't keep up with your energy. Like, how do you keep doing this? We do say this because their energy levels are completely different. So then getting them to be caged, they grow up to be teenagers or adults feeling like, okay, I want to do something, but now I've been told all my life to sit quietly and do this and do that. And then suddenly I'm like, okay, I want to do something, or I don't have the capability in my body, but the ability exists. It's the fact that for us, we need to make sure the awareness is there for us and for them. Yes, kids are born with a Duracell battery. I agree. So let's let them have that. If the invitation is to kind of let them be, a lot of this is to just let them be and not brand it wrong, which we kind of do in a weird sort of a way. Yeah. So it's their default energy. So let's let's continue to harness it, because it's their kinesthetic energy that will be useful as they grow. Because when they grow up, we'll be like, go for exercise, go to the gym, go do this, go do that. But by that time, you've caged them. You've told them all their 10, 15 years saying that sit quietly, do this, do that. And suddenly you're like, why do I need to suddenly go to the gym? For what? And we send them for yoga classes. they are innately yogis when they're born. I'm sure Rupal will agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the second part of the outside body, which is all about the doing, and to just make sure that we let the child not curb that default energy that they have. So that's the outside. The next one that we have is a coordination, which again, our body is capable of. For that, I remember I had told you all to get a ball, a tennis ball, or maybe just a piece of paper that you can just make into a ball, because this is going to be, we're going to do a little coordination activity. Everybody have either a paper. Yeah, I'd love to do juggling, but then it'll be way more than 1 hour, Drupal. I'll add that as one of the things that we can do with our kids. Learn juggling for the next 1 week. So everybody have a ball? Okay. So what you need to do is hold the ball in one hand. So maybe you'll have to stand up, and it's self-explanatory. So you throw the ball from the back of your, from behind you, goes over the shoulder and catch it. Okay, I got a second one. From the back. And do that 6 times and see how many times you actually catch it. This is a bit of fun. So how many times did you actually catch it? No competition here for now. How is it for a bit of fun? Mesa's still on it. She's like, no, I need to get this right. This is not, it's falling too much.
I was even trying with my left hand for a change.
That's a good one. Yes, Mesa, did you get, were you successful?
No, 0.
0.
I wasn't successful either. It was too tough for me.
I got it 1 time, so I'm very thrilled. So
Wow.
this is all about hand-eye coordination, right? It's just about putting the ball up and it just said in a different way. And we talk about gross motor skills and hand-eye coordination and all of this only when the kids are very young, because they sound really good, they sound really cool. But when they grow up, suddenly it becomes very kiddish. So we no longer talk about the terms of, do you ever think of a teenager and talk about the gross motor skills? You make an assumption that it's there. But the fact is our body is growing, our body is evolving, and gross motor skills and eye coordination is always there throughout our life, right? So it's not about something that was only important when they were growing, when they were primary years, and after it's no longer important, because then suddenly it's all about the mind, right? It's all about how smart you are and intelligent you are and all of that. And the skills go away completely. But bringing this in throughout, and even for us, is very, very essential. Because just a small task, how many of us have actually played this? Do we actually do this? We don't. We don't. Yeah, we don't. And this is something that is very innate. For example, it's very default in sports, right? So sports needs all of this, needs this by default. So if you're talking about a sports person, footballer, cricketer, they'll have this. They'll need to develop this and hone the skill, but that's going expertise. Here, we're talking about just basic skills. Have you all played just with a ball, try to do this 10 times with one hand, 10 times with the other hand, and imagine doing it with your child? Just play, because they do it anyways. And you do it too, and then they see you fail, and it's okay. That's the fun of it. They'll be like, oh, you know what? I got 10 and you just got 1. And it's perfectly okay. But it's about us also developing it and giving that importance from our end as well, because that's equally, if not more, important. And this whole sports thing is very, very old. It's 3,000 years old. And if you see, a lot of the sports athletics comes from historical days of man trying to prepare for war. For example, all those javelin throws and shot put, they're all designed because man was preparing for war and fighting and all of that. And that's actually developed over the years and some in some form exists even now. Who knew it actually came from there? But then today we've reduced it to classes, for example. Oh, my child, I want my child to develop. And so I'll send my child to a coaching class. So we kind of suddenly reduce all of this to a class because my child needs to be very good. Or for example, if they need to perform, if they're good at a particular sport, then they need to start performing there. So we kind of begin to reduce these things into a performance. So if it's sports, you need to win the race or the cricket or the football, and it's just down to a class. If it's probably dance or any other kind of body performance related, it becomes working towards a performance. But how about we open unstructured play for the child? Like we just did for 30 seconds or so. Very unstructured, right? I don't need to go to a class to learn how to throw a ball and just scruffle a paper and play. I don't need to. But in that, there is a lot of unstructured play. There is a lot of unstructured, and there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of coordination. And through that, there's also failure. I can't get it, so I just need to keep practicing. And when children have unstructured play, have you ever seen a group of kids in a playground, no sports related, and give them a ball? If it was just one child, they'll keep throwing the ball and catching it. And maybe then you can say, oh, this is only hand-eye coordination. But the moment there are two children and the ball gets thrown, both dash to it. And that becomes then there's competition, there's strategy, there's mind that suddenly comes into play, right? And I'm talking not any sport, just unstructured play. So in that, and then if you see with children, if there are 3 or 4 more, they begin to create games. They begin to create games and then they begin to create constraints in a game, there'll be a subset of a game. A lot of these things then have body and mind coordination because there's strategy, there's creativity, there's boredom. There's also oh, I'm bored, I don't know what else to do. Or one person says, I don't like this, and there's a fight. But all of this is really incorporating the body and the mind. Whereas when you just structure it into a sport and my child just needs to do this, they only see sport in that way. And at some point they say, oh, I don't have time for this because I need to study, or I'm not as good as I need to be. It gets dropped. And then many years later, I know many adults who say, I wish I had explored that sport. I wish I had explored tennis. I wish whatever sport it may be. There are most of us who come and say, I wish I had actually explored it, not to become an Olympic sportsman, but just to keep that skill on. Are there any of us like that? Just putting it open, because I'm one of them. So anybody whose voice I've not heard.
See, for me, this Bindu, hi, this is Sudeep here. For me, it is not so much about sports or such martial arts, but more about, I always wanted to get a feel of percussion instruments, you know, and I never got that feel of how a finger feels on a percussion instrument. So over the last 1 year, I have now started learning some of them just to get that feel. Actually quite fun, you know, how your finger feels on a tabla, for example.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that in, Sudeep, because that was actually my next point. So one is sports and the second one is an instrument. So that requires a huge amount of body and mind coordination. There is so much going on in just playing an instrument. And Sudeep, just to talk off that, I tried to play the keyboard just a few years ago. I said, I really want to pick up an instrument, and I picked the keyboard. And I kept feeling that my little finger just wouldn't kind of move the way I wanted it to move. I didn't have that kind of flexibility that I thought it was needed. So my instructor said, yeah, I wish you'd picked this up earlier, because now it's kind of stiff. You don't have that flexibility for the end key. So I would keep on making a fault on that. It was very frustrating for me. So to read the notes, to process it in my mind, and to play right and left. Oh my goodness, it was like a mind-boggling exercise on its own. So again, not physically tiring, but my whole body was in it. So thanks for bringing that, Sudeep. Yeah, playing an instrument is an excellent example of body-mind coordination.
I mean, other things that come to my mind are like driving a car or a bicycle for the first time. It needs that everything to click to be able to ride a bicycle, for example. And until you get it, it's a extremely frustrating experience. And once you get it, it feels like magic. It's like, no, how did I not do it? Same thing as, like, for example, swimming. So that some of these require, and then when it clicks, it becomes beautiful. And you use that word finesse, and it gets to that realm where it's a beautiful thing when we do with our hands. Also, another parallel that comes, I'm not sure if it's body or something else, but when I see comedians who use their body intelligence, thinking of Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, or a Jim Carrey, they just emote with their entire bodies, just not their face or anything, just to convey their emotions. And
I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you because that's exactly where we're going. We're going to expressions. So you can just share that once we just finish this activity. Yes, absolutely bang on. That's the next place where the body intelligence does get used, in expressions. So what we're going to do to kind of experience expressions is, so using our whole body, I'm going to say some few words. I would like you to, this is improv theater. So I told you you're going to have fun with all of this. So use your entire body. And when I say a word, become that. Not just with your mind, but with your body. All right. So imagine that you are a cloud. So become a cloud. Use your body and become a cloud. So you can use your body and your imagination. And this cloud is raining. So suddenly you need to become an umbrella. You're giving shelter to somebody in the rain. And it rains and it rains and it rains and it rains, and suddenly you become a fish. You're a fish swimming in the water. So you're swimming, and it's a rainy day, and you want to now be a nice warm cup of hot chocolate or tea, giving comfort to somebody on a nice rainy day. And the moment you give comfort, there is warmth in the heart. So become a heart. So how was that, trying to use your body to become different things?
So nice to express with your body. Yeah, it's so much nice to express with your body. It's like, really, as you said, it's like theater.
It is theater. So this is picked up from improv, and this is something they do with kids. They make kids do this constantly, like with your body, create alphabets, create things, and then get 3-4 kids together and make something, make a scene. So yes, this is directly from improv. So anybody else, how was it to use your entire body? And there's imagination, right? Any thoughts?
Hi, Bindu.
Yes.
Yeah, the feeling of being a cloud, it's like, you can just fly up in the air and let go of all your worries. You're suddenly so lightweight and you're flying. And it was beautiful just for a moment that you can really be a cloud. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely.
Clouds are, there are some associations with clouds also. When we were kids, there used to be a cartoon with clouds and so many things. So there's some lightness to it. You get a feeling of stress free, and it's a nice feeling. Yeah, some white pure clouds, cotton feeling.
When you're even talking about it, Manju, I'm getting that feeling of lightness. And I always, as a kid, imagined, and I still love it. I preserve that part of my imagination, but I always love wanting to go and sit on a cloud. I used to have this feeling that I wanted to bounce on a cloud and go from cloud to cloud looking at those cartoons. And I still preserve that part of my imagination. Thinking, one day I'll do it. Though my child says, you know what, it's just water vapor. You just fall through. But I'm like, no, it's okay. I still want to preserve it.
Yeah.
True. So using our mind, immediately associative memory also comes in. So there is imagination, there's memory, there's a lot of things that suddenly begin to play.
Yeah.
And this is a very simple thing that we can actually do with our kids. And even when they're grown up, if we find there's a sudden amount of there's a joy, the smile that comes to our face. So why not bring that in dollops, bring it in our homes all the time? It's very simple. We don't need anything. Right. And what does this do for us? That's the point here, right? See, it's all about the being. When you become a cloud, you're not really becoming the real cloud, but the feeling immediately, there's a lightness that happens in the body. And that's a feeling, that's an expression that flows through the body. And that's this expression is all about being, not about showing something to somebody. I never said we're going to show it to anybody, right? It's just for yourself. You never turned into a cloud, but you felt it inside. And so it's not about a presentation. And a lot of the expressive arts, which is the dance, drama, body language, gestures, all focus on performance. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but when there's an excessive focus only on performance, we end up practicing or we end up doing it for the performance, not for the sheer joy of it. So then there's a label of I'm good at it, I'm not good at it. In this case, I'm not a cloud, so why should I be? No, it's nothing. It's about the feeling inside. For example, if you put a music for a 9-month-old, the moment they hear the music, they'll just keep jumping in whatever rhythm they feel in their body, they'll keep moving. But you put a music for a nine-year-old, they'll probably say, oh, I'm not good at dancing, or I don't know how to dance. And if you put the music for a 40-year-old, they'll just sit down and say, oh, I've never learned to dance. I wish I learned. That's the transition that happens. But inside us, that ability exists. But because we are driven towards or conditioned all through saying that it's performance oriented, are you good at acting? Are you good at dancing? We dumb down that part of us and accept or just resign ourselves to the fact that, oh, I'm not good at dancing because if I have 2 left feet. We've heard all of this, right? And some of us even say that. And being a dancer, I just keep saying to everybody, you have the ability in your body to dance. But it's about that trust. We've just been conditioned saying, oh, you have to be good about it. So this intelligence is just about letting things be because it's already there in us and we know it. Heart of hearts, we know it. Any thoughts at this point? Because we have covered the 4 elements, the inside, outside, coordination, and expressions. What are the thoughts that are coming right now?
Yeah, Bindu, the thoughts that are coming are, I mean, when we spoke about the visual intelligence, I remember we said that we like destroy the imagination for the kids, you know, by framing everything into boxes and not allowing their imagination to just wander around. So now that you were saying that, it made me think of how these conditioning that we do in our lives and us not trusting our bodies anymore is what is stopping us. So when you said anyone can dance, anyone can, you know, be whoever you want to be, but it's because we are trying to impress others, or there's our ego, or there's appropriate versus not appropriate. So all these things that society imposes on us is what stops us from moving forward. So this is
Yes.
how, like I'm reading this book about, you know, the Japanese Ikigai, and they
Yes.
mention about this 20 minutes that they do every day. Even the old Japanese, like those who are above 100, they do something called a radio taiso,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean now with the technology, as you just said, for example, we do not move our arms upwards because everything is just in front of us. So they do some exercises just to remind their bodies of all the flexibility that is inside of them, even now that they are, I mean, above 100 years old. And this is what keeps them healthy and happy, because they do not stop of doing anything, you know. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it just occurred to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I remember that example in the Ikigai. Yeah, yeah. So quickly, what we're going to do is we're going back to our lemonade. A very simple. The reason I bring in a simple example is because it will help us start thinking creatively. So let's imagine our child is going to have lemonade. I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms and give you 6 minutes. Now, thinking about the body intelligence, what now can you do or be with the child? How can you kind of bring in this intelligence when they come and tell you, I'm going to make lemonade, and you let them? Clear before we go? All
Can
right,
you
we
give some
have like,
examples, Bindu?
yes, so, let's ask what comes up. How, if your child is now in the kitchen and says, I'm going to make lemonade, how are we going to use body intelligence? Just go wacko. So we are not judging here, right? Go absolutely, don't be the mom that you've been till 1 hour ago. What are you going to
Juggle
tell
with the
your
lemons.
juggle with the lemons? So that's an example of coordination, right? Have you ever told your child, go juggle with the lemons? So that's an example. So bring in the idea that we talked about body intelligence and just come up with what you can do with your child. All right, 5 minutes. Enjoy, just go crazy. Don't make it real. Don't make it like, oh, this is right, wrong. We've got off that. It's only us. Just go absolutely back. The crazier, the better. And that's the challenge. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. How is that? I need some examples of what all y'all came up with.
I and Sakina came up with this idea that we could challenge them to taste the lemon without making any expression on the face.
Wow, okay. That's lovely.
We got stuck at coordination. We don't know how coordination could be used in this though, but yeah.
Yes, so juggling is one. What else? Anybody else came up with coordination? Yes. Can we hear from the other breakout rooms?
We had a whole Olympic itinerary.
Okay.
Maybe Ayansh can share. Go ahead.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's like we came up with basketball, then golf, lemon and spoon, all types of games probably with the lemons.
Yes, lemon and spoon. That's something that you can talk about balance and all right. Wow, nice. That'd be a fun way to make lemonade. I'm not sure what the lemonade would turn out at the end of it, but fun would definitely be there. From any of the other rooms, any other ideas for us? Maisa, Mirna, Manju.
Yeah, we tried to throw the lemon on the wall to cut it open without using the knife.
Oh, crazier the better. Well done. So just imagine they'd be like, wow, this something's really turned on for my parents.
Yeah, definitely not a mom's advice, you know, like this is just to have fun.
Right. But then that does open up an element, doesn't it? It just makes you smile even thinking of it because we've already closed. Like these things are not done. Don't do these things with lemonade. But just open it up. Something else will turn up when you're doing something else.
True.
Yeah. Any others before I give you one last?
For the inside, perhaps tasting it one, and then the other one is when you drink it, you would like try to feel if it's how it feels when it goes down until it reaches your tongue.
Yes. And another thing, as you're talking, myself also comes like in the tongue, we have different areas of taste, right? So actually get them to put the lemonade in the tip of the tongue, in the ends of the salt, sweet. I don't remember the order, but then all of that. So that could be an awareness exercise as well for them. Oh, lovely. And another idea to bring in is the idea of constraints. So try and introduce constraints in whatever you're doing. And what does a constraint do? When we add constraints, for example, if I tell you tomorrow when you have a shower, if you have a shower, close your eyes and do end to end of that exercise. Just close your eyes. And the constraint is that you cannot open them, that your eyes are closed. That's it. Imagine what it will do to your senses. So the moment you put in a constraint, something else starts opening up and widens. I remember a couple of years ago, again, Rupal, this is something to do with yoga. The yoga instructor told me that we're going to do blindfold yoga that day. And I was like completely flabbergasted. I said, what? Blindfold yoga? What? And she said, no, just get a cloth and put it on in your eyes and you will only follow my instructions. And that day, I realized how much I wouldn't follow instructions, listen. I would always watch the instructor, but I wouldn't follow instructions. And that's the day that my hearing, kind of listening, just opened up completely just because I was blindfold for an hour. So things like that, constraints just introduce something totally different in our body, in our senses. So try that. So for example, that's what I had given one of the prompts. Use your non-dominant hand to brush your teeth. Get your children and the entire family. It's a non-dominant hand day.
Maybe I'm on a call.
Yeah. So I put in those ideas of constraint. It's a really fun exercise, but what it does is really activates the rest of the senses and the body, and it's a different experience altogether. So try that out. And the whole invitation through the body intelligence is that we just let the kids, I will send that later, we just let the kids keep that zing for themselves because they have it, and it's our responsibility to just preserve it and activate it for us because over the years we've just conditioned ourselves out of it. So bring that element in. I'll be sending you prompts, share your stories, share the fun moments, and just go ahead and enjoy the body intelligence for the next couple of weeks until we meet, which is 2 weeks from now, and we explore another activation. So thank you very much. Any thoughts, you can let me know. Otherwise, you'll receive the prompts from me and just give me your feedback and thoughts on your experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bindu.
Bindu, I